Downey Jr.'s greatest comeback. From debt, scandal, and rock bottom to stardom, Robert Downey Jr.'s road to greatness did not begin with red carpets, worldwide premieres, or multi-million-dollar contracts. It began in chaos, instability, and a downward spiral that nearly destroyed everything he had. Long before he became a global symbol of strength and charisma, Downey Jr. was a man fighting to stay afloat financially, emotionally, and professionally. He was born into a creative but turbulent household. His father, filmmaker Robert Downey Jr., lived a lifestyle filled with unpredictability. From a young age, Downey Jr. was surrounded by environments he later described as too adult for a child to navigate. He once reflected, "When your household is not stable, you start building defenses early." These early years laid the foundation for the struggles that would come. As he entered the film industry, Downey's talent was unmistakable. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, he was considered one of the brightest young stars in Hollywood. Critics praised his performances, and directors admired his range. But behind the scenes, his life was beginning to fall apart. His rising fame masked deep-rooted personal issues, and soon scandals overshadowed his talent. Throughout the 1990s, Downey Jr. faced a series of legal battles and public controversies. Each incident chipped away at his reputation. Studios that once competed to hire him began to distance themselves. Insurance companies refused to cover him, which made him nearly unemployable. The financial impact was devastating. Legal fees piled up, mandatory programs drained his savings, and the loss of work left him with unstable income. Downey later summarized this era with candid honesty. "I was one step away from losing everything." By the end of the decade, he hit what he would later describe as rock bottom. He had lost roles, opportunities, and the trust of the industry. Debt and instability followed him everywhere. He admitted in an interview, "I couldn't insure myself, so no one would hire me. If you can't work, you can't pay your bills. It's that simple." Hollywood had quietly closed its doors, and the world saw him as a fallen star. But the turning point did not come from a sudden miracle. It came from a long, painful realization that he had to rebuild his life from the ground up. The first step was accepting help. He committed to change and surrounded himself with people who refused to give up on him. Among them was producer Susan Levin, whom he met on the set of Gattaca. She later became his wife, and one of the strongest stabilizing forces in his life. Downey once said, "She believed in me long before I believed in myself." During this period, he took any opportunity he could find, even small roles that paid a fraction of what he once earned. His financial situation forced him to start over. Studios that did hire him put strict conditions on his contracts. He worked under reduced salaries with a large portion held as collateral in case anything went wrong. For Downey, this wasn't humiliation, it was a lifeline. "It taught me discipline," he said. "I had to prove myself every single day." Slowly, momentum began to shift. His performance in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang caught the attention of filmmakers and reminded Hollywood of the brilliance he still carried. He showed up on time, delivered exceptional work, and demonstrated consistency. People began to see not the scandal-ridden actor of the past but a man who was determined to reclaim his future. Then came the moment that changed everything. The audition for Tony Stark in Iron Man. Marvel Studios was hesitant. Downey Jr. was a risk, a massive one. But director Jon Favreau believed no one else could embody the character's charm, intelligence, vulnerability, and resilience. Favreau fought for him relentlessly. "Robert was Tony Stark," he said. His story mirrored the character's journey. When Downey stepped into the role, something extraordinary happened. Audiences connected deeply with him not just because of his performance, but because they sensed authenticity. Tony Stark's journey from arrogance and chaos to responsibility and redemption mirrored Downey's own path. And just like that, the world embraced him again. Iron Man became a phenomenon, transforming Downey from a once-doubted actor into the face of an entire cinematic universe. With newfound consistency came financial stability. The man who had once struggled to get a single studio to hire him became one of the highest-paid actors on the planet. His comeback was not based on luck, it was built on discipline, humility, and unwavering persistence. But what truly helped Downey Jr. rise was not just work ethic. Three key forces shaped his success: structure, support, and purpose. First, structure. He rebuilt his routines, created boundaries, and committed to accountability. He learned to manage his time, his work, and his emotional life with precision. Consistency wins. He once remarked, "It's not about big moments, it's about daily decisions." Second, support. His relationship with Susan Levin became a stabilizing anchor. She challenged him, encouraged him, and believed that he could build a better life. Friends and colleagues, like Mel Gibson and Jon Favreau, gave him opportunities when others refused. He later said, "No one does it alone." Not really. Third, purpose. For the first time in his life, Downey felt he had a mission larger than fame. His role as Tony Stark wasn't just a job, it was a symbol of rebirth. It inspired him to show up as the best version of himself and to maintain that version every day. As the years passed, Downey didn't just return to the top, he helped redefine Hollywood success. His comeback is studied, admired, and often cited as one of the greatest turnarounds in entertainment history. He went from a man nearly erased by scandal and debt to a global icon whose discipline and resilience inspired millions. Reflecting on his journey, Downey once said, "Remember where you came from, but don't live there. You can start again at any point." His story proves that downfall is not destiny, and rock bottom does not have to be the end. It can be the beginning of the greatest comeback you can imagine. Robert Downey Jr.'s legacy is not built on perfection, it is built on rebuilding, on taking responsibility, on choosing growth over collapse. He transformed debt into discipline, scandal into strength, and rock bottom into a foundation for greatness. And that is how he rose from the edge of ruin to worldwide stardom.